pranic healing, inner peace, better relationships, spiritual connection, health, balance, harmony, joy, love. Welcome to the podcast of How Pranic Healing Changed My Life. I'm your host, Nicolefouche, and this podcast shares the many benefits of pranic healing and how people's lives have changed for the better after becoming involved in this revolutionary healing modality. We will share testimonials from people who have experienced the multiple benefits of pranic healing and how they have integrated the teachings into their lives. This relaxed platform shares the raw, authentic, heartfelt stories and the miracles that have unfolded. I hope these stories inspire you. So welcome to this next exciting session of How Pranic Healing Changed My Life. And I know I say this every single week, but I get so excited to have a new guest on the show, and just the stories and the miracles that have happened never cease to amaze me. And I'm really excited to introduce you to a wonderful woman. Her name is Tonia. Welcome, Tonia.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I can genuinely say I do not know your pranic healing story, so I'm going to be hearing this for the first time as well. So I'd like you to just share with everybody, how did you get involved in pranic healing, or what prompted you to search out pranic healing? Like, what was the first step for you?
Well, I call it an unexpected journey because I didn't have any clue, had never heard of pranic healing, energy. I had just gotten a diagnosis a couple years prior for Parkinson's disease. And I had been the caretaker for my dad, who had early onset Parkinson's, and he had just passed away 2 years prior. And we had done research studies. I was his caregiver, and I was having a picture of what that journey with that condition would look like from beginning to end, as I was witness and was there for my father, and good times and bad. So having a positive outlook was a struggle, but I've always been one that considered choices. I could choose to be happy. So being happy, putting on a smile, moving forward. So I did a retreat out in Arizona. I went all by myself. I didn't know anybody who was going. And I met, by chance, I had an upset stomach. And this wonderful woman who I had started getting to know, Dinah, she said, I can help you with that. I said, okay. And she proceeded to do pranic healing. And it went away. And I was very fascinated and wanted to hear more. And so therefore, that was my first introduction to pranic healing. And at the retreat, we broke into groups and we all shared. And that was the first time I shared outside my family that I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And so that was really huge. So come to find out that Dinah lived in the area around me where I was from. So she invited me to a twin heart meditation, which was, I'd never meditated. My son had tried to get me to meditate. I did not understand it. And it was amazing. how I felt, the stress, the anxiety, it just disappeared. It was amazing. It was just a wonderful experience. And afterwards, Dinah and I spoke. She said, I could help you with your Parkinson's. And she explained more about pranic healing sessions. And she said, it's a little tougher of a condition. When I'm ready, would you be willing to be my first client for that level of a condition? And I said, yes, I sure would. And in the meantime, I would do twin heart meditation. I started incorporating it slowly, a couple times a week, you know. And as I kept doing the twin heart meditation, emotionally and mentally being able to continue to process the diagnosis was getting easier and easier. And because at the time, even though it had been a little over 2 years, it had been consuming my little mental conversation. I call it my hamster wheel. And I, about 6 months later, Dinah called and said, we're having another in-person meditation. Would you like to come? I made a point of being there. My husband was surprised because I dropped all plans I had had to make a point of being there. And she started my pranic healing sessions. It was an early diagnosis of Parkinson's, if anybody's familiar with it. It was not debilitating to my daily life. If someone looked at me, you couldn't tell. At home, when I would get up, the small things I knew from taking care of my father, they were small symptoms, but they were there. And getting the DAT scan, which is a brain mapping, showed that my deterioration of my brain followed the pattern of Parkinson's. So I continued to do my twin heart meditation. Dinah kept working on me. My symptoms were reduced by more than 50%. And it was so amazing to me that my tremors reduced, my small symptoms that you get with Parkinson's, especially when it's earlier in the symptomology. And it's like something, if you're not familiar with it, it's progressive disease. It just continually gets worse and worse, like diabetes and different types of conditions. And so I started my journey with pranic healing to start the classes. So I started going to basic, advanced, and I did the whole in 1 year. I did everything all the way up to orthotic prep. And I was so amazed with how it helped my condition. I had to learn how to do it to help others. And then also to help myself continually to aid in my healing of my body emotionally, mentally, so that I could help others.
I'm gonna stop
And
right there because
yes.
I mean I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So at
Mhm.
such a young age, and just having to have dealt with that with your father, I can imagine,
Mhm.
like, just mentally,
Mhm.
emotionally, like from a
Mhm.
psychotherapy point of view, we understand those thought forms of
Correct.
fear and worry and all
Mhm.
the mental
Mhm.
offload that can happen with that. So the first step being able to just get into that positive mindset, I really believe,
Mhm.
like when we look at chronic and progressive illnesses, we've seen with the work that we've
Mhm.
done having a positive attitude, being mentally and emotionally grounded and centered in a good place is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely vital. And just with the
Mm-hmm.
meditation on Twin Hearts, you were already getting some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously with receiving the healing, it took it to the next level of, being able to have somebody clear that for you. And then
Mm-hmm.
I understand your natural next progression in terms of, I want to learn how to do this. And I think that's such a
Mm-hmm.
vital component as well, being able to have the tools not only to heal other people, but actually to heal yourself as well. And I find
Mm-hmm.
that so empowering. A lot of my clients that I work with, if they've got chronic illness, I usually say at least take like the first level class, because
Yes.
just with what you learn in that class, if you're stuck at
Mm-hmm.
4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon and everybody's business is closed and you're just like having a
Mm-hmm.
rough day, you're able to
Mm-hmm.
take those tools and put them into practice immediately and calm down
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of different
Mm-hmm.
conditions, physically, mentally,
Correct.
emotionally. And I just
Mm-hmm.
love that, because literally you have followed like that perfect progression. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you're an incredible healer. And I'm just so
Thank
excited
you.
to hear that. So sorry, I just had to get that out because I'm just like, this is fantastic. So
Mm-hmm.
continue.
Mm-hmm. And what was also so wonderful about it is that I could share it with my family. What resonated with me was when I would always make sure I would read the book before my classes. And I'm a nurse by trade and 11 years of critical care nursing. So when I read that uh, Master Cho wanted a healer in every household, it resonated with me. And just in my heart, I just wanted to share with my family, with my sister and brother, and then have it continue to create this circle of healers and letting them know that they have the capability, it's within us all to help themselves and help their immediate family. And if they want it to grow, it can grow further than that. And I want to share the next step that happened in this beautiful journey. And I had not reviewed any classes that I had taken. COVID hit, and um, actually, my psychotherapy class was the first online. And it was an interesting journey with taking my classes and getting certified. So, when everyone came back to having classes in person, I had Dinah, who had introduced me to pranic healing, asked if I wanted to go down and do a crystal review in person. And there were so many people there that I had seen online, hadn't met on in person. I got to see Master Marilog in person, and I got to be there for my beautiful friend who had introduced me to pranic healing. She hadn't had crystal class yet. So I had gone. We had enough people at that class for the weekend. Each weekend we have a crystal healing. You have the uh, laying of crystals.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And we had enough people in the class to choose two people. And because along this journey, I learned that Parkinson's isn't my enemy. If I did not learn to send it blessings and send it love and see a different perspective of all these beautiful people that were now in my life that I would have never been introduced to, learned from. Uh, I had to look at Parkinson's that way, and so being down in um, the class, she asked for anyone who had any conditions to raise their hand. Well, I don't identify with it. I send love to it. but I had come so far that my symptoms were so minimal that I didn't raise my hand. And we're sitting too far apart for Dinah to elbow me and get me to raise my hand. And Master Marilog's looking and looking. No one's raising their hand for class, not one person. And so she talks to us and uh, she said, "Are we sure?" And she's encouraging us and talking to us. And then all of a sudden, it was like someone took my hand and whoop, my hand went up. So I was blessed with having the laying on of crystals and to have that level of love and crystal healing through my pranic community, which is accessible through pranic healing and our pranic healers. Um, I have been miraculously healed of Parkinson's. I have not had a, sorry, excuse me. It was so beautiful, so full of love. The room, I had the support of all of these healers and the love that was in the room. It was an
Quite
amazing
profound.
experience.
Quite
It
profound.
is so profound. And the love is overwhelming. It is just, and it was cute because when I got, Dinah and I went up to our room and we said, okay, because she's seen me at my worst moments and my best moments. And we whispered as we went to bed, we said, okay, let's see how we are in the morning. Because at the time, I would look like a 90-year-old woman trying to get up and get out of bed. The tightness, the muscles, the contractions of the stiffness, it would take some time to really get myself moving and get up and get out of bed. The next morning, I looked over at Dinah. Dinah looked at me. I jumped out of bed and ran around the room. I hadn't done that in years. And don't get me wrong, you have to believe without a shadow of a doubt, as with anything in your life, not just chronic healing. It's everything and anything in your life. You cannot doubt at all if you're going to be successful. And I continued the journey. I continued the chronic healing, sharing with others. And it has been such a blessing. And through COVID, as a nurse, they had us working 84-hour weeks, and I said, you know what? I want to give back to my community. I want to give back to others this beautiful blessing that I have been given. And so I went part-time. Well, we call it PRN, as needed. I give them my schedule and I have gone to 1 day a week. It's still a 15-hour shift, which my 84-hour weeks were 17-hour shifts. And now I am in the middle of creating my own pranic center and in the middle of building and outfitting it and creating our website and everything that goes along with it. And I am prepared for the rest of my life to give back to as many as possible.
I've actually got chills. I mean, in like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes to go
I
from
know, I have tears.
diagnosis of a chronic lifelong issue to dealing with that, having seen it in a family member, to overcoming that, healing from it, learning pranic healing as a nurse, understanding, all the medical stuff in the background, and then getting to that space of, I want to share this and help in another way that is so empowering and so beautiful. I often say, like, a lot of these illnesses are God's gifts to us, because
Mhm.
our lives are so different and so impacted. And when we see that true gift of what we've been given and we embrace it and we look at what can I
Mhm.
learn from this on a
Mhm.
soul level, why is this happening to me? And when we
Mhm.
get some of a glimpse of this big picture that we're not even aware of, I mean, your
Mhm.
life now compared to where you were a few years ago is like a complete 180. And I mean, I've not known you
Yes.
that long, but I would never say you have a chronic illness or anything. And you're an excellent healer. You've definitely got to come to Tampa and visit our center before you get set up.
I'd love to.
Will inspire you. But I mean, that is just remarkable. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a
Mhm.
beautiful,
Mhm.
magnificent
Yes.
story. And I love
Mhm.
the other sort of point that I want to point out is the fact that so many people that are in the medical field, with the doctors, with the nurses, with the practitioners, are starting to see how valuable pranic healing is as a complementary therapy.
Mhm.
It's not there to
Yes.
replace traditional Western medicine, but as
Correct.
complementary
Mhm.
therapy, it is absolutely vital. And I often say to my clients, when you can get the best of Western medicine and you can pair it up with pranic
Mhm.
healing, that is where the miracles happen. And we truly
Yes.
see it. And I'm just so
Mhm.
grateful that you can share this profoundly beautiful, beautiful
Mhm.
story with so many
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
And I'd like
Mhm.
to finish off, like, if there was one person that you could inspire or give a glimmer of hope or just share something with somebody, like, what would that message be? Like, this is your time to speak to the world, because I'm hoping the world will be listening to this podcast. Like, what would you share?
I would share, when anything happens in your life, you may be at the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. You may feel like everything has been taken out of your control. And why is this happening to me? When we are on that side of it, sometimes it's hard to see the bigger picture and what it looks like once we come through the other side. There's, and I can say, there's always a reason, even if we can't see it. Pranic healing gave me the inspiration, a little more control when I didn't think I had any control over what they medical field told me I had. And with whatever you've been told emotionally, physically, the condition that you're facing, there is help and hope in whatever way you need it. Pranic healing brought that to me, and you don't have to suffer and you don't have to feel put down. There is a beautiful reason why anything and everything is happening, whether it seems really, really negative. There is another side, and there's a beautiful light on that other side. And we all have blessings from whatever the situation is.
I love it.
So,
I love it. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing this incredible story.
mhm,
And as I say, every
thank
week I
you.
do this, I get so inspired, and I'm like, we just need to keep pushing this work forward, because when I look at just the lives that are changing in the most beautiful, beautiful ways, I'm so grateful that I get to do this as a job, and I love it. And
Yes,
we get to witness basically miracles, because there's
we do
no
every
other word
day.
for it.
Hmm.
And I always
Hmm.
go back to our level one pranic healing book is called Miracles Through Pranic Healing. And it could not be a better name, because we are literally witnessing miracles happening in people's lives. So Tonia, I thank you for sharing this. For those of
Thank
you that
you
are
for having me.
listening, this is a story of hope and inspiration. And find a pranic healer near you.
Yes,
Look online.
yes,
Pranic healers work in person and virtually. Find a pranic
yes.
healer if you're struggling,
Mhm.
because there is help out there. So
The
thank you.
miracles are endless. The miracles are endless.
Thank you.
Possibilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.